Here we are. We're back. My name is Jeff Harrison, along with
Leslie Spoor
for the Twisted, Bent, and Exhausted Entrepreneur Podcast. We're somewhere in the.
Wait, I gotta get my pop bombs out. Yay!
There you go.
Oh.
We're somewhere in the second season. I don't know, like episode 10 or 12. I don't know. I've lost count. I just know we do one every week, and we've been consistent. And here's a funny thing, Leslie. There's a lot of people who start podcasts, and they say most people quit before the 7th podcast.
Do they really?
Yeah.
Why? It's so much
I mean, let's face it, it's a lot of work. It's not, it's like saying, back in the day when I did my first podcast, which was, God, I hate to say it, like probably 10 or 12 years ago, easily, it was a lot of work. There was a technology issue. It was cumbersome. It was clunky. Now it's like, hey, you're in your office. I'm in my office. We turn on the computer. We fire it up. Got great cameras, good sound, and it's done. Well, the barrier to entry is easier, but it still takes, you still have to have something worth anyone listening to. So hopefully today on the Twisted, Bent, and Exhausted Entrepreneur Podcast, we are going to have something you're going to be interested in listening to. We're really talking about a topic that I want to dive right into, Leslie, and it's what stands the test of time. Because, and the reason I brought this up, or I want to talk about this today, because I remember back in the day, this was probably, maybe 12 years ago. I heard an interview with Jeff Bezos, and he's cutting edge, AWS and Amazon, that kind of stuff. They said, hey, what's going to happen in the next 10 to 12 years? What's going to change? And he said, that's a pretty good question. He said, what I wish you would ask me is what's not going to change in the next 10 years? He said, because that's what I can build my business on, right? Because if it's constantly changing, it's like I built my house on a beach. It's full of sand. And every time there's a high tide, low tide, the base changes. And so I used that forever, and I came back to, well, it's human behavior. So when I make content, I always build content around human behavior. You've done something that is really unique as we move into what I call the trust economy, that you've done it for a long time. You've made some like small little booklets, but you really dove off the deep end. And you didn't have any floaties on. You dove into the deep end of the pool, and you wrote a book. You want to take some time and tell us about that and what really inspired you? Well, the one you just have out. You've just released, I think, on Amazon.
Oh, the one that just came out?
12 Steps.
This one.
Oh, this one. She's so casually. Oh, you mean this one? Yeah. Look at all the pages on that. Geez. I have one of those too, but they're all blank. So it's just for you to take notes.
The other one that's coming out has 300 pages at least. I'm not sure, but it's a big book. But this one is a handbook. This is a guidebook. So what I did is I started a while back doing these 5-day to freedom challenges for companies. I do them free. I do them one-on-one. I only do 1 or 2 a week. And we were talking about it on one of our podcasts, and you said to me, you should do a 12 Steps to Freedom handbook to go along with that. And I thought, okay. So I sat down and wrote it, and now it's published and it's on Amazon. I'm really proud of that. It's a companion guide to the 12 steps to the 5-day freedom challenge. However, it stands on its own. It has all the steps to learn how to, or what you should consider in order to work on your business and not in it. Because that's the trap most small business owners fall in, is that they build, when I use the puzzle metaphor, I say they build the outside edges and then they get trapped in the middle. I'm not sure where to put all the rest of the pieces of their business. And so I've had this new freedom series. The first thing is the 5-day to freedom challenge. Then this companion book, which is 12 Steps to Freedom. And in production right now, I have a book coming out called Freedom by Design. And Freedom by Design is similar to the Freedom by Design video series that we have, but this is actually a book, and it tells you exactly, it's like 23 chapters. I mean, it's not like a little throwaway thing. It's really how to design your business and how to make it so that you can be successful. And I'm super excited about it because, it's all written from the first person. It has all my stories in it about all these different things I've encountered over the years. So that I've taken my real world experience and put it into this book so that hopefully, and I expect they will, people will. In fact, it's so realistic that there's a piece on it that says this, before you begin, there's a little page facing the first chapter that says, you will likely see yourself in this book. Okay? Because that's how common the issues are that small business owners face. There are, after 20 years of working with, well, actually, more than that, probably, 10 years as a consultant and 20 years as a business owner, there isn't much I haven't heard, and it's usually the same issues all the time. When I worked in aerospace, I did a presentation called Common Complaints, because every time I'd walk into a new company, they'd say, you don't understand how we do business. And they all do it the same. In fact, I know right away when a business is in trouble if they're having meetings over lunch. If they're having to hold meetings at lunchtime, that business is broken, period. And so when I would do a Common Complaints presentation, people would say, oh, she does understand the issues that we have. And now this book, Freedom by Design, is kind of the same thing. I'm telling business owners, these are the situations you're going to face or you are facing, and this is how you fix them. And so I'm super excited, but I can't wait for it to come out.
Well, the reason I brought that up is again, there's been this whole thing of, we had the industrial age, now we're information age, now we're really moving into the trust age.
That's true.
And so one of the things that leads to a level of trust is, if you think about, as an example, if I said, hey, Leslie, can you join us for dinner tonight? We're having a friend of ours over, and you say, who is it? Oh, it's Stephen King, the writer. Like, would you have to think, I don't know if I'm going to go to dinner and meet Stephen King. What do you think? You'd want to come there, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Or J.K. Rowling. Oh, she's going to be there. Well, they have a level of trust about their name, even if you've never read their books. Why is that? Because they took the time. I mean, let's face it, not everyone is an author, even though you get those emails that said, even you are an author. We can write a book in a weekend. Not everyone does that because it's a lot of work. But when you actually take your thoughts out of your head and you compile them in a book and publish that, that's almost like saying, you know what, I'm going to tell you all my secrets and it's going to be exposed to the world. And now you know me in a whole different way. And there's a level of trust when that happens. And I think when we think about, okay, James Patterson, I think you like him a lot. J.K. Rowling, obviously, that did the Harry Potter series.
Dan Brown is my favorite.
Oh, Dan Brown. I'm sorry. If you think about these people, we really didn't know who they were before what? They published their books.
That's right.
And now
you can't write them in a weekend, by the way.
No.
I started Freedom by Design 10 years ago.
It doesn't normally take that long. Nobody doesn't take that long.
No, it doesn't, but I'm glad that it did, because it's one of those things where when you have an idea in your mind, and I'm a different person than I was 10 years ago. I'm farther along in my business than I was 10 years ago. I have more experience working with other companies and understand their issues better than I did 10 years ago. And so even though I wrote the first few chapters 10 years ago, even those evolved. And so there is an arc in the book. There is, like I said, people are going to see themselves because I run into this stuff all the time. And so I think that book will outlast me, give me luck, long before I take a dirt nap. I hope that it's still here and people are still enjoying it because I wrote it that way. This book is not specifically for the lifestyle management industry, even though my examples are in that industry. There is there are industry benchmarks and fundamental processes that go into running a business. All businesses operate the same, whether it's manufacturing or it's retail, whether it's service or it's technology. When you create a business, there is a path to follow to build a successful business. And most entrepreneurs fail in the first 2 years. And all of us go through periods, I'm sure you have too, where you hit this wall where you say, why in the heck did I start doing this? Whatever this is. Why did I do this? Why don't I not have a W-2 job where I can just get a paycheck and go home and not have all this responsibility? And in my case, where I have all these employees, responsibility to keep business coming in, responsibility to earn a decent income. I'm the only one that contributes to my financial situation. So, making sure that I continue to grow and build my business. And so there's a lot of responsibility for people. And if you don't know how to do it, then it gets really, really hard, because the name of this book, even though it's called Freedom by Design, it's really the happy path to how to build a business that runs independently, or how you work on a business and not in it. And because there's a happy path through all businesses. So that's kind of the point of it. And hopefully, I say hopefully, but I expect that it'll outlast me, because it's designed, and it has a lot of the power of positive thought and manifestation in it, because I'm a big believer in that. I've proven it through my own business growth, that if you can visualize it, it can happen. But there are steps to making it happen, and I talk about that.
As we discuss today's topic, which is what stands the test of time, is, I look back at this list of authors, and I see, William Shakespeare. He's been gone for a long, long time, but his writings are consumed on a daily basis. They're turned into plays. There are all kinds of things. And what we're talking about is what stands the test of time is, if we think about this and we strip it down to its purest, it's honesty. You're exposing yourself through the honest moments that it took for you to write a book. And I think that's a huge thing. So when we're talking about what stands the test of time, is I think documenting your content. I'll use now, just to switch gears just a little bit. I probably, in the last 16 years, I've made well over 10,000 videos for myself and clients. And so while I do have 2 books, and the one is called Reservations, and we're talking about now an industry where it doesn't exist anymore, and so it can't stand the test of time. But my point is this: when you have a business card and you're introduced as, by the way, they have this, this, and this, it really helps stand the test of time that you took the time to do this. So I think as we talk about these things, what can we do when the world is moving so fast and technology is changing so rapidly? What can we still do? Not that we shouldn't start embracing these things where it's appropriate. I'm not saying stick your head in the sand and say, yep, screw that. Unless you're retiring this year. I don't even want to say retiring next year. You better get in the game. This is my coaching moment. You better get in the game right now. But if you're going to be around a while, doing things that stand the test of time, writing the book, producing weekly content, whether it's a video, it's a podcast like this. This adds credibility. This is a trust thing, because in this situation, they see us bantering back and forth. They see us who we really are, Leslie. So it's not like we're hiding behind this script, right?
Right. We don't have a script.
We don't. So this is one of those things where this is one of those, if it's not a book, it can be a podcast. It can be a video. It can be, your newsletters example. I mean, I think of some people who that's all they've done is they have a newsletter, and they have a wildly successful business because they built it on that trust. They start out with no one, and they sent it to their friends, and it kept building. And now 10 or 12 years later, they have this massive business through just a newsletter. They get to do what they love to do. So I think that's one of those things. Another one, Leslie, I think that is really important that you do is you attend a lot of activities, a lot of in-person meetings, whether it's, like BNI or the chamber. What's the reason behind that? I mean, is it just purely to, hey, I'm going to go in and extract business, or do you have a different mindset on that? And how does it stand the test of time?
Well, all networking has to do with relationships. We've talked about that quite often. And in-person networking allows you to formulate those relationships. Some of them will just be budding, just a quick 30-second or a minute of conversation. But then as you continue to go, you see the people over and over again. There's one real estate agent who I told him he's following me around. I've seen him at so many different events. He said all the same things I am, but he recently just referred somebody to me for business. So I thought that was really cool, that he would do that. And so building relationships as a business owner is one of the most important thing that you can do. And almost every 5 Days to Freedom challenge that I do with business owners, networking is the one thing they don't have. Most
Isn't
of
that
them
wild?
I know. Most of them are so tied up working in the business that they don't have time or bandwidth to go in person network with people. And I explained to them that when you stop doing that, and believe me, I know this from experience, when you stop in person networking, the pipeline dries up. We as human beings only have so much capacity. There's 24 hours a day. I don't care how many of those you work, there's only 24 hours in a day. So you either need to automate things, or you need to delegate things, or you need to learn how to work on your business and not in it. And one of those ways to work on it is to be the face of the business out in a networking environment, so that you can continually build the brand and the reputation of your company and bring in and fill that pipeline, so that you do get referrals, you do get new business, you do build relationships out of it. And I have seen a lot of people transform their businesses just by adopting that one piece. Because, and I've had the argument too, by the way, that says, well, but I really like working for my clients. I like them all. I want to be the person that they talk to. That's all well and good if you're building a job for yourself. But if you're building a business, you cannot do that. You can do it for a minute, but you can't do it forever. And it's important to decide which way you're going with your business. A job is a noble endeavor. You want to build a job for yourself, and you want to limit the amount of customers or clients that you have, because one person that might be limiting is if they're a baker and they're making cupcakes and they're using their home kitchen to do that. They can only make so many cupcakes at a time, and over so many days, and so they're limiting themselves. But if they want to be a bakery, then you get people to help you. You get a commercial equipment. You have a space. You can produce higher quantities of things. So there's a difference as a business owner between I built a job for myself and I'm building a business for myself. And because building a job for yourself relies almost purely on word of mouth, and it works fine because you're limited. You have a natural constraint in that your physical capacity to do work is limited. But as a business owner and an actual business that you're growing and you're expanding and you're delegating, you're hiring help, then you're unlimited in what you're able to do. So, and then network becomes a key part of that. So that's kind of what we're talking about.
Yeah, we're talking about what stands the test of time. What activities can you do as a business owner, whether you're an entrepreneur or you're a brick and mortar business owner, that what you can do to do things that stand the test of time, that work yesterday and it'll work tomorrow. And we've said, hey, write a book, create content. That's one.
In-person networking.
The next one is to write a book. The next one would be to do in-person networking. Um, I think something else that would be really good is I get this all the time after, I've been a chamber member now for probably 10 or 12 years. And during that time, maybe longer than that, during that time, I see these invitations for ribbon cuttings and open houses and things like that. And I haven't been really good at it because I have been that person, Leslie, with my head down, building my business.
Right.
But here's the thing. In the last few weeks, I have started to go to these, and I went. This was a cool takeaway. I went to one on a Friday afternoon for a health and beauty spa and or wellness spa. And when I went there, what I was surprised, I'm like, oh, there are not many people here. Oh my gosh, the intimate networking was phenomenal from that event. I didn't go with any expectations, and and it worked out better for me because I'm a little bit of an introvert. I felt comfortable in that group size because it wasn't so big. And I got 2 clients from them. I wasn't expecting it. It was just conversation. So there was not like 10 other digital marketing companies there. So look for those kind of things like ribbon cuttings. I'm going to one tomorrow that I'm looking forward to doing. And it's like, it may be one of those little niches that you go to. When I talk about open houses, usually I'm not talking about real estate open houses. I'm talking about a new business who has then a grand opening or an open house. That's another great place. I think you can say, I'm going to put that on my list. I'm going to put it in my calendar and make it part of my things that what stands the test of time. Because here's the other thing. And it just hit me is like, if you were having an open house and I show up, and let's say you invited 50 people and 22 showed up, you probably, as the business owners, take some kind of note of that, of like, these 22 showed up, the other 28 did not. Does that push it higher? And I'm not saying it has to go just for that reason, but I'm thinking those people showed up and they stood behind me when I opened my business or I had a ribbon cutting. All these other people did not. So now if the phone rings and it says, oh, Jeff is calling, there may be a chance you answer that phone call better, or you might go ahead and let it come through. I'm now guessing. What's your thought on that?
Well, no, I agree with that because, again, relationships and I have a saying about honoring your sponsors. So I tell realtors that all the time. If I work with you, I'm not going to step on your toes or try to take your clients away or any of that, right? You have to honor your sponsors, and those are the people that support you in your business. I will say when I go to do networking events, I have a goal of a maximum of 3 leads. I may get more than that, but I generally set that as my target so that I can focus on trying to get leads. And then I just have fun and talk to people and try to build those relationships, because if you turn those networking events into pure effort and work, they're all work, but you know what I mean, where you're just like, everybody you talk to, I've kind of got this air of desperation. I got to get a lead out of this.
Yeah.
That air of desperation, people can feel it and it turns them off. So you want to be able to enjoy the event itself. I do expos, I do chamber mixers. I'm a member of Women's Leader Forum and both CEDAR and GPSR, which, if you're listening outside of the Coachella Valley, those are 2 realtor organizations. I belong to BNI and just a number of networking and things. And I was shocked, for example, with, I haven't really done ribbon cuttings because they're generally in the middle of the day. And that's harder for me. I'm better at things that are at the end of the day or in the beginning of the day, but because my phone rings off the hook during the middle of the day. But when I went to the Women's Leader Forum for the first time, I got so many leads. I had to start writing them all down and who to call back and for what reason, because it was like an onslaught of interest in me and my business because I was new, and so you want to leverage that right away because you're only new for a minute. And so and I've got people that came out of that I think will be friends even beyond business. I mean, Kelly, for one, you've met Kelly.
Right.
She's a sweetheart and so smart and nice that I want to be friends with her, just regardless of if we do business together, because that's what makes life fun, having these relationships and meeting people that you have a synergy with.
I think another one that I want to point out that stands the test of time, and this is nothing more than referral marketing 2.0. As an example, let's say, for instance, Leslie, you refer me to someone. All of a sudden, because you have a high degree of trust between the person you're speaking to and they have with you, there's a transference of trust to me who you're referring. So when that happens, the opportunity to actually become a client, if everything fits, is much higher than if they just met me for the first time at a ribbon cutting event, as an example. So what we're doing, and you're participating in this, is and we don't necessarily have a proof that, hey, it does work, but if it does work in person, why shouldn't it work digitally? So what we're doing is we're putting together a situation where we said, hey, you have a group of customers who have this particular demographic. And then another one of my clients have their customers who have a particular type of demographic, which is the same, but you're not competing against it. You don't sell the same product. So we're doing a referral process to our databases.
I know what you're talking about. Okay.
Right? We're going to see if that works. And it really is, I've retitled it, is this is a trust referral network. And so we're building off your trust with your customers, and this other business owner is building off the trust of their customers to refer each other to each other. And I'm excited about that because I think that is another thing that can stand the test of time. It's just you're using today's technology to say, how can I do it on a higher level? So let's say, for instance, use your women's group. And all of a sudden, let's hypothetically say, you have a real estate agent and they have been doing business for a long time and they have this list of clients, and it would work out that your list could possibly be their future customers and vice versa. Well, it might be one of those things where, hey, let's do a referral email. That might be that opportunity to do something like that. I don't see any reason why that could not be something that stands the test of time, because referral business or referral marketing has been around, I think, forever. Right?
Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Biblical
and we're
times.
and I didn't want to go that far back, but yeah, biblical times.
Yeah.
So why shouldn't it work today where we say we're just leveraging the technology? In fact, at the end of the day, to make it even better would be to say, hey, I want to make a video with you and I want to make a video with him introducing each other, right? So that it even adds that higher level of credibility that, it's not just somebody off the street. You said, hey, do business with this guy or do business with this gal. But you guys look like, hey, there is a relationship there. And because we have trust in that one person, we immediately can transfer that same level of trust into this new relationship.
Yeah, I agree. 100%. We just talked about this in BNI. You have to be able to refer people without expectation, right? Doing that write-up for BNI really was an eye-opener for me because I already knew this stuff and I already do this stuff, but BNI specifically felt different to me because, and for those of you that don't know, BNI stands for Business Networking International. There are chapters all over the world. And so if you did a search to find out one close to you, I'm sure you could find one. Their biggest selling feature, in my opinion, is that they only allow one kind of business per category. So you're not in there competing against a bunch of people. And the whole purpose of it is to help get referrals to those businesses. And I see already that quite often it's the members themselves that refer each other to their, I need somebody to do this for me and we have a member, so I'm going to use them, so there is business coming out of that. But when I first started in there, because it's a referral specific organization, I felt like, I was keeping track kind of, if I give out one, I should get one, right? If I give out 10, I should be getting 10. And I've been in there a year and I've really only had like one true referral. I've had people mention us to people, but as far as somebody who called me and tried to hire us for work, there's only been one. And so I was very annoyed by that initially. But now I understand that just like anything, and I'm a connector, I connect people all the time with no expectations. People call me for something we don't offer. I for sure find them a solution. I just helped a guy in escrow get a roof inspection. He's not going to be a client. He's going to live here full time, but I helped the realtor out, and hopefully that will lead to something at some point. But even if it doesn't, I did a good thing for this guy. He needed. And so when you give without expectation, you never know where a referral is going to come from. That realtor may mention that to somebody else. Hey, Executive Aaron's really helped us out in this crunch over here. And we did it in less than 24 hours, which was even more impressive because the guy was in escrow and it was going to close, and he really needed to know the condition of that roof. So giving without expectations is like putting good out into the universe, and it will come back to you in some form at some point. When you build a business that is about helping others, whether it's a product that helps somebody, whether it's content that helps somebody as you do with digital marketing, whether it's making their life, enhancing the living experience here in the desert as we do with Executive Aaron's. When you put out stuff that is meant to help somebody and not focused on just bringing in revenue, right? The difference between building business for revenue and building business to make a difference is substantial. And when you build a business to make a difference, the money follows. It will come. You don't have to worry about it. But if you focus on just making money, you start to violate your own principles for your business. You'll take on clients that aren't your ideal clients because I just need the money to come in. Mm-hmm. You'll make bad business decisions because it's revenue based. You may not bring in help when you really, really need them because you think you can't afford it. And my thing is you can't afford not to do it because you don't have any room to grow if you don't take some stuff off your plate. It's that kind of thing. So I think when you give without expectations and you put good out in the universe, it does come back to you every single time.
I like it. I like it. Well, we're talking about the efforts that we put in as business owners and entrepreneurs every day that stand the test of time. What are we doing today that will be there tomorrow? We're talking about really relationships, and a relationship can come through writing a book, doing a video, doing speaking, like you talk about wanting to be a speaker. I know do, yeah. I know there was a period of my life early on in my career. I did a tremendous amount of speaking. I spoke about 250 times a year, and it didn't take long before now when there was a conversation about something I could do that my name was brought up without me even being there. And that was the whole idea. Right. It wasn't any hard sell. And the whole time that I was doing these talks, it was just giving value of showing, and because that's, again, proving to the audience that you know what you're talking about. You're not just an empty sack of air. You really can do what you're talking about.
You're not a meat puppet? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I'm not a meat puppet. If you didn't know what that is, go back and watch our last episode. You'll find that, I think, funny because the way the world is changing. But, we're talking about things. What's that?
Okay. I was gonna talk about something else that stands the test of time. And I think you alluded to this, or maybe you outright said it.
I was probably getting to it.
Did I interrupt you again? Oh, just another day at the office today, Jeff. You need to establish yourself as an authority. I think that is a really big thing as far as standing the test of time. One of the reasons I started writing newsletters was to help establish myself as an authority on a variety of topics, all having to do with, in particular for Executive Aaron's, all having to do with home maintenance and repairs. So people would understand that I fully know and recognize issues in a home. I mean, it was important for people to trust me that if I said, this doesn't look right, that I have some authority in that, or, understanding. I'm trying to avoid the word expert because I don't really like the word expert, but authority or credibility is what I was seeking. And I went through a period early on where I was in executive earnings history, where I was writing articles for like all the chamber newsletters in town. Why join? And they weren't necessarily related to my business. I just wanted the byline. So it might have been, I wrote one about float for balloons. Float is a product that you inject into balloons so they stay aloft longer, they stay inflated longer. So I wrote an article about that for a chamber thing. And then I wrote one about why join a chamber, which got published in all of them out here. Because a lot of people think it's their responsibility to bring in business, when in fact their responsibility is really to manage the small business environment from a legal perspective, so that they can help you at the state level. They're trying to support small business at that level. Getting work out of that is a byproduct. It is not the reason you join the chamber. And so, you can write about topics that are not specific to your business and still gain that authority and credibility. And so establishing yourself as an authority gets people to come to you then, because they know you know what you're talking about. I've written lots and lots of booklets about how, small booklets, tips and hints about how to, I call them essential guides, about how to, whether or not you should hire, if you're ready to hire people, how should I set my price point? Do I broker or refer services? I mean, all different kinds of things. How do I market to real estate agents? All these things that to help businesses. They're all available on my website, but those also help establish you as an authority in a small business consulting arena. And now the books are doing the same thing. So authority is something that stands the test of time, because it's not something you do once and forget about it. It's a constant effort. And speaking is a great way to do that. You're one of the most glib and easiest speakers I've ever met. You have a natural, it's funny that you're an introvert. I'm an introvert too, and nobody would believe that, but it's the truth. I can sit in the corner just fine. I don't need to be the center of attention, but I can also play the role of extrovert and public speaking. I love to do that, and writing and all that stuff. And you're the same way. You have it a little worse than me, because you don't even like to put on that mask of extrovert. You're not comfortable with that. You will get up in front of a room though and talk to 100 or 200 or 1,000 people and be great at it, absolutely great at it. And then you put you in a room with 1 or 2 people and you just clam up. And it's always surprising to me that you do that, because you're just so great at it. So
I don't need to make small talk if I'm up in front of a room, because I've got my stuff ready to go, right?
Yeah, that's true. I never thought about it like that. I always talk about, I met with a realtor yesterday. The first thing I said was, how long have you been a realtor? And what kind of properties do you service? And what did you do before that? And, why did you move to the desert 7 years ago? And I mean, I'm just asking questions because people like to talk about themselves. And so when you allow somebody to talk first and to talk about their business or themselves, it immediately establishes a relationship between the two of you. Whether it's deep or not is, it takes time, but the other person feels like a connection to you because they're telling you about themselves. So I have always done that. So small talk is not hard for me, because I get the other person to talk. I'll wait until they ask me about my business, and then I'll talk. If they don't, and sometimes they don't, because not everybody's a good networker. If they don't, I say, okay, no worries. I'll do it the next time. Right.
Yeah.
So it's funny, because I find that in one-to-ones too. When we do the BNI one-to-ones, which we're supposed to do, some of the people I've met with in our group never ask me about me. I won't name names, but some of them don't. And that's okay.
Well, you and I have had that discussion before, and
Yeah.
and I've said the same thing. It's amazing how many times by the end of the one-to-ones we've had, and this is no negative on any of those people, because I think I am also the one that has to take responsibility for both sides of the conversation, because I'm like you. I'll ask a lot of questions and get them talking about them and help them find a solution for that. Next thing you know, we're an hour in, and that's about how long our one-to-one should last. And they've never had a chance or even thought about well, I should ask you about your business.
Right. They
and
don't. They don't
you're the same
always.
way. Yeah.
Yeah.
But what I
So
put up here, we've earned the right to share. Like if we've asked those questions,
that's a
hey,
good
tell me
point.
about, what even brought you here today? Why'd you come? What do you do? How long have you been doing that? Really, who do you serve? And what area of the city? Blah, blah, blah. Oh, really? I do. And you've earned the right to say, let me raise my hand and ask a question or put in some thoughts about myself. And I think that's the part that we have to have that in our mind of not like, okay, we've reached that limit, but we have earned the right to share back, even if they don't ask. If they ask us, well, that's pretty cool. What a great experience you've had. Let me share a little bit about who I am and what I do, because you're going to bump into people I think that are probably a good match. And
Yeah.
I don't know if I said that, would anybody say, yeah, I'm just not interested. I'm going to go have another cup of coffee with that
No,
person
they
across
just
the
don't
way.
they just don't think to ask.
They don't.
Not everybody is a good networker. And one of the things I do consistently, because I do a lot of expos, and people walk down the center of the aisles trying to avoid the tables because they don't feel comfortable and they don't know what to say, right?
Yeah.
So what I do, I've done it in chamber mixers, I've done it at expos. Have we met before? Because you look so familiar to me and I'm so bad with names. Have we, and that will start a conversation. And I've never seen him before in my whole entire life. That's okay. That's my opening to get people to talk to me. And if it's at an expo and they're in the middle of the hallway, I'm walking them to my table as I'm saying it to them.
Yeah.
And it works every time. Every time.
Because people are
So,
naturally followers. And if you lead them, they're going to follow you.
yeah, they do. Because they don't want to be rude. They're going to talk to you. And I have candy on my table always. So, there's always a drop. But that kind of an opening seems too simple to be effective, but it is very effective because everybody suffers with, I can remember your name, but not your face, or I can remember your face, but not your name. That's a real common thing. I'm good with faces, but terrible with names. So I really have to see you quite a few times before I can remember the name. And even then, I try to introduce you at BNI and I have trouble.
And we've only known
Every
each
time
other
I go in, this
16
is, and
years.
to my right is,
That happens. Good
I
thing
know
I have
we've
my
only been
name
friends
tag
for,
on it. Said, here's my name tag. Yeah.
we've only been friends for 15 years. Why would I remember your name?
I think there's a common thread here about what stands the test of time, and that's relationship. And the relationship doesn't have to be, I really know you. It could be, I've read your book, I've watched your videos, I've read your content. That is a relationship. Or
Yeah.
I met you at a one-to-one. Like I know you're doing one-to-ones with other people that are your ideal clients or referral partners around the world through BNI. I was just looking at, there's over 11,600 chapters in BNI worldwide, and there's over 355,000 members.
Yeah.
And
We have
to
a
me,
lot of them we're reaching out to.
and so the cool part about that is when I think about this, going back to, I think I mentioned in our last podcast, is our ideal customer known or unknown? Well, you have now, I'm not saying all 355,000 are your ideal customers, but you have the ability to say, hey, I know exactly who I should be talking to. Like that should be only, I think that should only be who you're talking to if it's to grow that one side of your business that's a more enterprise, not your absentee homeownership. Like that's like, okay, that's your effort for that. But
I should actually do that for CBS. I've only been doing it for executive errands. So
100%. Yeah.
But I should do that for that as well. The executive errands, I narrowed it down even further, actually, because what we did is we looked up the cities where all our clients live when they're not here. And then we went to BNI groups in those areas. So that because I want to talk to the realtors who may have clients who want to buy out here in the desert for second homes.
Oh, there you go. There you go.
And so I narrowed it down even farther so that those are the realtors. I spoke to one last week from, she's in a BNI group in Manhattan. And she knows one of her clients has a son who lives out here who may need somebody to take care of it. So you never know, how how far away they might be. I mean, because we're in California and Manhattan's quite a ways.
We're talking Manhattan Beach. We're talking Manhattan, New York.
New York, yeah, Manhattan, New York. She's actually in New Jersey, but apparently it's a stone's throw from Manhattan. She can see it out her window. So, you know, I have not been to that part of the country, so I don't really know how close that is, but she's assured me that it was plenty close. And so you just don't know, you know, if you don't put it out there and you don't talk to people, you could be missing in fact, you are missing opportunities all over the place, because some of the ones that have come to me since, how long has it been since I've been out physically networking this time around?
4 to
6
5 months.
Yeah, something like that. The number of opportunities that have come my way have been extraordinary, really extraordinary. But again, you know, you can put out into the universe what you're looking for, what your ideal client is, what kind of business you want to have, what kind of opportunities you want to have. But if you don't make the effort to go to these events, it's not going to happen.
Yeah, very rarely have I ever heard anybody say, you know what, I was sitting on the couch eating bonbons, watching another rerun of Seinfeld, and the greatest opportunity knocked on my door.
Yeah.
It just doesn't happen. You've got to, you've got to, get out there and move your feet and get involved. And I think, as I said, was saying is, what stands the test of time? There's that common thread of, it's really relationships and building those relationships through many different platforms, whether it's digital, it's writing, it's speaking, it's going to events, it's being involved in networking groups. And this doesn't have to be BNI. It could be a Rotary Club. It could be as you say, the real estate group in Palm Springs. All of those are opportunities to build those relationships. And here's what's really cool about this is when you're in many different places, you become in the mind of people who think they are everywhere. That's the person I want to do business with, because as you said, it comes down to you're an authority, and the trust goes up, because as I said at the very beginning, that's the environment we're in now. We're in the trust zone, no longer an information age. We're in the trust age. And when you're everywhere, you're at the real estate place, you're at the BNI thing, you're at the Chamber of Commerce thing, you're speaking to real estate agents at, all over the place. You're everywhere. You're the authority. Why would I even think about going to anybody else? That's what you want to do. But it didn't happen sitting on the couch watching Seinfeld reruns.
As much as I wanted it to, it did not.
Those are really good, though. I have a friend who can actually speak I've watched those for years. It's my favorite. As I digress, is I love Seinfeld. I have all of them on DVDs, which I can't even play them anymore. Who does a DVD player? And I have a friend who can read the lines. Like he just has this memory that he can just read the lines. I'm like, I wish I could do that. It's kind of fun. But anyway, I'm getting off track. The big thing is, you don't have to be overwhelmed with technology and say, I can't get on that train, because I mentioned in our last episode, the technology train is moving like a bullet train. It's going at high speed, and the doors are open, and to get on and off can sometimes be challenging. But you can take that route and say, maybe the technology I have to have is when I walk into a group and I meet people, when I take their business card, I can somehow automate all of that communication with them and build that relationship. It could be when you're speaking that there's a QR code that people can scan to get your free download of the first chapter of your book. And then it goes into an automation. So in other words, you're still doing that. I'm calling it human to human marketing and building a relationship, but you have the technology to support and said, I don't have to be overwhelmed by, I can't go to these other events because I'm still sending emails to the last one I went to, right?
Yeah, and that's a good point too, because you do have to follow up. I've really taken to carrying a notebook and making notes and putting those cards that I need to follow up with. Personally, everybody gets added to my newsletter, but there are always a handful or more of cards that I need to talk to people. And beyond just the piece of conversation we had at wherever, especially when we do expos, because in those cases, there's so much traffic, you can't really have too much of a conversation with anybody. So if somebody says, hey, can you call me later? Or I'd like to get together, then for sure I mark those and set them aside. But I
Yeah.
do try to get back to almost everybody, and I do it like the next day, because if you don't, it won't happen. And I think that common courtesy is a lost art in this world. I mean, I just stopped in that conversation yesterday with the realtor I met with, who said, he loves to entertain, and he used to invite 100 people to a party, and 90 would RSVP and 85 would show up, or 90 would show up. He said, here where we are, he would throw a party and invite 100 people, and maybe 50 would RSVP and 20 would show up.
Yeah.
He said it got very disheartening for him, because the courtesy of, and what people don't think about when they just, he contacted someone and they were like, oh, well, we just weren't in the mood to go, or something happened or whatever. But what people don't seem to understand is that when you're throwing an event for 100 people,
It's a lot of work.
well, it's not only a lot of work, it's a lot of money on food or catering. It's a lot of
Yeah.
money in decor. It's depending on the kind of event you're doing. It could be entertainment. I mean, there's a lot of things that go into an event. And so to not have the courtesy to respond, I think is really a bad look for business owners, which is why I sent a thank you to the realtor from yesterday. He took the time to sit and talk to me. I sent him a thank you for doing it,
Absolutely.
And so, yeah, it's an email thank you. It's not a handwritten thank you, because, be realistic. It is difficult these days,
Yeah.
but it's still necessary, and that stuff never goes out of style.
Yeah, just to follow up is you've already now bubbled up to the top of the list because you absolutely followed up right away, especially when you, in that conversation, you heard about what he described as what he would like to see happen that's not happening. You didn't fall into that trap of, well, I'm just one of those people who maybe not followed up, or it'll take me 3 days to follow up. No, you were right away. And, we just did this for a client out of Chicago that, they're doing some presentations, marking their business as a coaching and consulting business. They're both psychologists, very well-known psychologists, and they have a coaching and business, but they're doing these 90-minute seminars before the coaching and consulting is done. And my role was to listen what they do and to take the essential things off of their plate and automate them. So all they had to do was focus on what? Showing up and doing a presentation. I always think, hey, it's the talent. The talent doesn't come and set up the lights and make sure the sound's right. No. We have all that ready to go. You just show up, the mic is on, you go. And when we were done with this, and we're not done, but we've outlined exactly what happened, I could literally see on screen how their shoulders began to go from this to, oh yeah, I just have to do what I do best, and that's stand in front of a group and talk. I don't have to worry about all this other stuff behind the scenes, so we can automate that. And that is a fun way. So if you're listening, you're somebody who does a lot of this, but then doesn't have the time to follow up or a system to follow up, take a look at that. You should really look at it and say, even if it's just one, you're way ahead of the group. But if you had, like with this situation, we have a series of emails that will go off over the next 30 days for these people, along with a calendar for a one-on-one phone call for people. Right. And so these are kind of things that sometimes get lost. It's not about just going to the ribbon cutting. It's about, how do I follow up with the people that I did go and meet with at the ribbon cutting?
Right.
So, all right, Leslie, I think I don't have any other thoughts of this. It just feels like the whole thing is about, allowing people to see you for who you are, proving you are who you are, and then doing as much as you can in person. When you're not doing it in person, you're creating content, whether it's like this video, the book, podcast, whatever it might be. I love the fact that you used to publish articles with the chamber. I don't know why you don't put things like that, like in the desert sun, like to contribute. That would be a cool idea.
I know, I want to, and I haven't been in the, I used to be in the desert sun. I've got a whole scrapbook of things where I've been published, or have articles I've published, or have been articles written about me or my business, and haven't had any of that for a long time. I was going to reach out to Palm Springs Life and the Desert Sun about doing a lifestyle article. It's almost too late this season, but
Yeah.
I think that kind of thing also lends credibility to your business.
100%. Yeah, as seen in Palm Springs Life. Oh, really? Oh, you're in Palm Springs Life. Not everybody gets into that, so that's
I should go
authority
through
thing.
my scrapbook and start referencing some of that stuff.
Well, maybe one of those things. It's like we were talking about off camera about you'd love to speak more. Well, here's the thing: speakers usually get hired a year in advance. So if you're doing larger events, you need to be priming that pump today for next March, next April, and be ready. Because it's not a we need somebody next week. No, they probably have those people hired. So of course we're talking about, it depends on the level that you want to talk at. If you want to talk on a national or regional level, then you just want to be prepared, and you are super prepared, and you have so much information that when you send out your reel and it says, oh, she's a published author. Oh, credibility. Boom, there it goes. So that's what stands out to the test of time. Leslie, great stuff. Any last thoughts before we wrap up for today?
No, I think I'm thought it out.
Okay. Hey, thanks everybody for joining us again. This is the Twisted, Bent, and Exhausted Entrepreneur Podcast. I think I've twisted, bent, and exhausted Leslie to the point she says she actually gave up. She didn't grab that and run with it. Normally, she's a little puppy. She'll grab that and run off with it, but we're able to wrap up. And
I'm a puppy. Did you just call me a dog?
No, I called you a puppy. Puppies are cute. Dogs, puppies are cute. Everybody loves a puppy.
Okay.
Yeah. So anyway, thank you all for joining us. Really appreciate it. Please, if you listen to the podcast, you watch it, whether it's on YouTube, it's on Spotify, please give us a little feedback and share it with somebody. Those are huge things. Talking about, hey, what do the algorithms reward? Likes are good, shares are better, comments are amazing. So if you like the way I looked and you like the way Leslie sounded, make sure to put it in the comments. We really appreciate it. Leslie, with that, I'm going to say adios, muchacho. We'll see you next week on the Twisted, Bent, and Exhausted podcast.
See you guys.